Can you bring us an update on Ryan Hall, please, first of all?
Yeah, so Hawley's recovering well. We're hoping he's going to be okay for Friday. He's got to get through captain's run, and then we'll make a call later on the week. But it's only been a week and a little bit since he's op, so it'll be touch and go, but he's still a chance to play.
What's he saying to you?
Well, Hawley's a quick healer. There's no doubt about that. So if he can play, he'll definitely play.
Do you think he will?
I hope to. Yeah, he trained today or did bits and pieces today. So it's just a matter now of getting through captain's run and just making sure that he's fully ready to go.
What do you do then with Fuad Yaha at the moment? Do you keep him around?
Yeah, so he's got another. Obviously, this is another week with us, and then so he's available for selection, mate. So I thought he was strong last Friday. And definitely available for selection this week.
And you've got Tanguy, haven't you, with you still? What's the latest with him?
Yeah, so Catalans has allowed Tanguy to stay with us for an extra 2 weeks, but they can call him back at any time. So, if they have any reason to call him back, they can call him back at any stage. But we've got the extra 2 weeks there that he can possibly play with us.
How do you feel the pair of them have done so far?
Yeah, I thought they fitted in extremely well. I thought Tanguy, for a young guy, obviously being here for that first week, showed his quality in that first game, and then Ford come last week, and obviously they had each other to support each other and keep each other company. I thought they both played really well the last 2 weeks, and definitely been an asset to the team. Ford's an experienced player, he's an experienced winger. Scores tries and carries strong, and obviously he defends strong as well. So they've been 2 good additions to our team. Much needed. It's been much needed as well.
Fuad and Yusuf escaped bans this week. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, I think there was gradings there, so I think there was fines in place, so they didn't escape it totally. In terms of a match, they did, which is great. Grateful that they can play.
Were you always confident that they would escape suspensions?
Oh, look, yeah. I mean, Fuad's one, definitely. I just think that one was a tackle, was a decision. He's coming off his wing, put his arms around and made, it was, for me, it was a good tackle. But whenever you see a player on the floor, it's not a good look, and it's not good for the player itself. So obviously they need to look at that, which they did, but it certainly didn't require a match. A fine was probably significant, but whether he needed a fine or not, I don't think so as well. But in terms of Yusuf's, that one was we need to protect the kickers. So I think a fine was the right call there.
On to your injuries then this week. How's Elliot Minchella?
Yeah, he's okay. I mean, naturally, this time of the year, they've all got a lot of bumps and bruises. Every team's got that at the moment. So there's no doubt he's playing long minutes. For me, he's been exceptional for us each week. And he'll be doing that again this week for us. He's stepped up. He's growing as a leader. He's growing as a player. And as I say, there's no doubt that he'd have a few bumps and bruises because of the way that he's been playing wholeheartedly every week, high energy, and he's been a big part of what we've been doing.
Do you have any fresh injuries at all?
No, we don't, which is touch wood, which is okay.
Will you make any squad changes this week?
Well, we had a good, we had a good couple of weeks now, so we want to have some stability there. Obviously, if Ryan comes back, then we need to make a call around that. Other than that, I'm pretty sure it'll be pretty much a similar squad to what we've had.
Any of your longer-term injured victims ahead of schedule at the moment?
Look, we're hoping James Batchelor, so he's out of the neck brace now, which is good. He's got to go for another scan, but it looks promising there in terms of him being able to play in the next sort of few weeks. There may be a slight possibility, but I'm not 100% sure around next week. We definitely are aiming for the week after, but he needs to get more scans, and he's going through, obviously, the steps that he needs to go through, but so far so good there. Ethan Ryan's possibly for the Derby game. And then the other ones are pretty much longer term. Jordan's longer term, Sam Wood's longer term. Jesse Sue's longer term. So, we won't be getting those guys back. And obviously we've had the retirement of Lachlan. So, so there's a few getting closer, which is great. But then there's also the ones that I just mentioned there that are long term.
How pleasing is it that there is light at the end of the tunnel for James in particular after that HIA?
Yeah, massive. It's huge for not only us as a club and a team, but for him and his family. Obviously, to see him go down the way he did, it's awful. Because we know how James plays, we know how Batch plays. He's all in. He's physical. He's, as I always say, he's a player that other players want to play with. But when you see a guy go down the way he did and not move, it's always a scary sight for everybody. But none more than him and none more than his family. So it's great to see him training again. He's doing everything, or pretty much everything now bar contact. So we'll build him into that. But it's great to see him back with the team, and he's got a smile on his face, which is good.
And Ethan Ryan could be back for the derby, you say?
Yeah. So it's bizarre how those injuries that they do, they heal. Obviously we saw what Ethan was initially when he did it, and then requires surgery, and then in the space of 2 or 3 weeks, he's training again. So, he's doing more with us now, and potentially could be ready for that derby game. So it's good to see.
Very much so. As for the derby next week, does your squad selection this week have any impact, or does the derby have any impact on your squad selection this week?
To be honest, mate, we've got a massive game this week. I'm not really, we know it's there. Obviously, we know some big games are coming up, but we've got a massive game this week against Leigh, so that's our priority. Things change, form, suspensions, unfortunately, injuries part of the game. Determines your squad for the week after. But we've got an important game this week against a quality team, so we're looking at that first.
Okay. Anyone need a rest at the moment?
Mate, they probably do, to be honest. There's probably players there that played long minutes, but we just got to keep going. That's where we're at, the stage of the season where we're at. We're going through an important period. So in an ideal world, you'd like to rest some players, but they want to play as well because they realise how important it is. So what we need to do is be smart and manage players during the week, so they're feeling fresh on game day and they can go all out on game day. So that's where myself and the staff need to have a plan in place, which we do, a thorough plan in place around what it looks like each week and each day for individuals. But at the moment, we can't sort of rest anyone on the weekends. We're just in an important position that we need to get through.
I see. Paul Lakin has said that the club's looking for a new signing following Lachlan Coote's retirement. Where are you at with that then at the moment, Willie? Yeah,
so we're certainly looking at the moment. Obviously, being it's halfway through the season. Obviously contracts in place. Players aren't sure, potentially what they're doing next year. So it may be one of those where it's more of an opportunity-based, contract. So again, they're not easy to find. So we're definitely searching and looking for that type of player and the right person. But as I said, we've got game this week. That's our focus. But myself and Paul, obviously in the background, are working on how we can strengthen the side in terms of our depth.
Have you identified any particular player you'd like to bring in?
Well, there's players that we're potentially looking at, but again, it's not an easy one because it's one of those where players do want to have we get a player from overseas. They do want to have a longer term contract. We're not sure we're in a position to do that. There's a lot of factors involved. So, we did have interest from one player. He wanted to come, and then the club, sort of didn't want to let him out, which is totally understandable. It's their player, so you're gonna have that. So we're looking at certain players now, but again, nothing's finalised yet.
What position was that player in then that you mentioned there?
Oh, well, we're looking at a few, but I mean, it's obviously fullback at half, but it's more because Jordan went down. It's more around that in that halves. We do have a bit of cover there at fullback now, but it was if Jordan hadn't gone down, then obviously you're looking for possibly a fullback or even another position. But we are sort of thin around that halves.
I know Jordan is long term, but how is he at the moment?
Yeah, he's good. Obviously going through the stages of where you realise that you're going to be out longer term. The initial, I think, once he did it, you don't sort of realise that it is going to be another 16 weeks on the sideline. So George is, he's been through this before. The important thing is now that we just help him off the field and get his mind right, because it's not an easy position to be in for players that have long-term injuries. They want to play. That's the reality. That's what makes them a lot of players. It's a release for them. It's what they love to do. It's what puts a smile on their face. Naturally, family, close friends and all that's ultra important to every player. But there's no doubt once they have that balance of family and friends off the field, they making sure that they're playing on the field. And when they're not playing on the field, there's a piece missing. There's a piece missing. So George is going through that at the moment, but he's getting a lot of support around him to make sure that he's okay, and he'll be back. There's no doubt about that. He'll be back at some stage.
Any players signing new contracts at all? Anybody got a new deal to tell us? I would just like to check.
Yeah. Now you got me thinking. I think pretty much we've announced most of it. There'll be other deals that we'll announce. Once we work out who that player is, and then whether that player is going to be a longer term or whether we're looking at someone else for next year.
Okay, thanks for that. After 4 successive Super League defeats, of course, you got back in the winners' circle, didn't you, in the last match against Wakefield in the league? What still needs to be better, though, from your team? I mean, I know that it was different sort of halves, wasn't it, from your team in the last match? But what do you feel still needs to be better, and what are you trying to impress on your players this week in training?
I think it's sticking to what we're good at and doing that for 80 minutes. We did it. We started off really well the other day, and then we went away from doing things that was working. Wakefield they kept coming, so credit to Wakefield. But for us, just trying little sort of chip kicks when we're making teams coming out of their corner, taking a few little easier options or short game options when we play our best is when we're working teams over and we earn the right to play. We want to find that balance of when to play and when not to play, because we always talk about we don't want to be a team that just carries 5 hit-ups and a kick. We still want to entertain. We're in the business of entertaining, but we also and ask a lot of questions, but we also need to know when we need to build a game as well. So I thought, that second half when they travelled sort of 60, 70 metres was a sign of, that's not fatigue, that's concentration, that's attitude. So for me, that sort of snowballed or started the second half sort of performance that we produced. And as I said, Wakefield kept coming. So for me, what we need to work on is doing things that we do well, consistently well for 80 minutes. And just love doing that and just do it over and over, because it works. Like the results and the games that we've won is playing our style and our brand of footy.
Do you feel you owe Leigh one this week?
Oh, certainly. We there's no doubt about, there's that one hurt. I'm not going to lie. The players felt it as well. It was a game there that I don't think we played all that well, but we're still in a position to win the game, and to get beaten on the bell like that, it hurts. And if it doesn't hurt, I don't want those players coming on the bus this week, because it needs to be a team that that still feels the effect of that result. But uses it to our advantage of going and play against a quality team, because there's no doubt we were playing against a very good team. Got a lot of respect for the way they're playing. Adrian's got them playing a great brand of footy, but again, it'll be about us. But certainly we do need to overcome what we did on round 3, because if it doesn't hurt, we don't care enough.
Did it hurt, especially because the only time they were ahead in that game was when Josh Charnley got that match-clinching try? Yeah,
certainly. I mean, any time we felt it, obviously, against Wigan as well. But I think in that game, there was a lot of ill discipline. Like we gave them penalties, we gave them field position, and you can't do that against Leigh. So our learning, has got to be, we need to be disciplined this week, and we need to sort of put the ball in areas of the field where they don't want, because I don't think there's a better team offset starts and running shape at the moment than Leigh. They are running in terms of their shape and their threat with the ball. At the moment, I think they're the best in the comp. So how do you overcome that? Well, you need to look at yourself, your discipline, and the areas that you can control, your end of sets and things like that. If we control that well, then we'll put us in a good position.
Have they surprised you this season?
To be honest, no, they haven't, because I remember I was saying to our CEO at the start of the year, I looked at their individuals that they have. They've got a good team. There's no doubt about that. And what they've had is they've had their best players, their key players. They've played all year. There's no mistaking that Lachlan Lamb's up there, one of the best players in the comp at the moment. John Asiata for me is up there. Obviously, Charnley's scoring tries for fun. They've got a lot of quality players there. So yes, they've had their injuries mainly around their back row, but in terms of their hooker, their half, and their loose forward, fullback, that spine position, then they've had a lot of cohesion there. So when they're playing, then Leigh's going to be a threat to any team. But to be honest, mate, no, they haven't, because they're individually a good team, and Adrian's doing a good job putting the team together.
You're both in Sydney together as players, not the same club, I'm hastening to add. But did your paths cross? Did you know him at all?
Adrian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know him well. I was halfback at Wigan, then he came over the year that I left. So we've had a lot to do with each other over the years. He's always a person. When I was a younger player that I looked up to, intelligent, knows the game, and he's doing great things there at Leigh. So. Got a lot of respect for Lammy, but there's no doubt, he's got one up on us. I've got to try and get one back.
Indeed. You've not won away from home, have you, since April? How much do you feel you need to remedy that then?
Well, we need to win any game that we play. And if you look at it and break it down, the Warrington game, we're only just short. The game that we played in Magic Round, when we got beat by 10 by a good side in Salford. But we didn't play anywhere to our standards that game. So I don't think it's a at the moment, it's not a concern about playing away from home. It's more around your performance on the day. So for us, we're looking forward to going and playing Leigh, and they come and beat us here. So it'd be nice to be able to flip that and beat them on their home turf. So yeah, it'd be an exciting challenge.
And just 2 points split you, don't they, on the table at the moment? Does that focus minds a little bit more?
Oh, look, I know, we know where we sit at the table and the importance of playing teams like Leigh, because potentially you're fighting for spots at the end of the year, and these games matter. So, there's no doubt if they get the result, then they go 4 points ahead. We get the result, then we're sitting on the same amount of points. So, yeah, it's an important game, but I know it's cliche, but you need to worry about your job. You need to worry about the process first and all that sort of stuff, because you get that right, the results will come. But there's no doubt you're striving to win. That's what it's about.
They pushed Catalans hard, didn't they, last week in France? So what sort of game are you expecting, Willie?
I'm expecting that they'll come out harder than what they did. And, they were 20-0 down. So there's no doubt. They score the most tries in that first 20-minute period, other than any club. So that tells us that they're going to start fast, or most of the time they start fast. So they didn't do that last week. So there's no doubt they'll have a focus on that. Again, what can we control? Well, it's our start and how we start. So I'm expecting, for me, this will be like a semi-final type game. There's no doubt about that. They're on the top of their game. We're sort of building our game again. We've gone through some adversity. But we're in a position now that we can put ourselves back in that six. So if we want to be there at the end of the year, then we need to perform in games like this.
Wish you well, Willie. Thanks very much for your time today.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate.
Hi, Willie. You all right?
Hey, Joe. Good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good to speak to you as always. Just a little bit more on the recruitment side. Is it a tough one for you? Because if you're going for like a short-term fix, but maybe the people you want maybe aren't in your long-term plans, does that add into it as well? Are you trying to balance that at the moment?
Yeah, it is a difficult situation, because it's either, you look to go a longer-term contract, or but the problem is obviously players are locked in at other clubs, or do you go a shorter term and give someone an opportunity? That's probably the way that we're going to go down. As I say, we're far from finalised yet with it, but it is a difficult position to be in, because other players are at other clubs and they're locked into contracts. So unless teams are willing to let players get out, and then it needs to be the right fit for us, it needs to be the right fit for the player. So there's a lot of factors involved, mate.
Perfect. And obviously, I know it's for next year, but I've just been really impressed with Petter Hickle's form at the minute for the Cowboys. He's going really well since you announced his signing, isn't he?
Yeah, he has. I watched him last weekend. He's he's a player. There's no doubt about that. In any position, you know, we've spoken about it before. He could play fullback. He could play in the halves. He could play centre. He could play wing. So he's going to be extremely valuable to us next year. But it's good to see he's still in top form there in the NRL.
Perfect. And the final one for me, I know we touched on it after the Wakefield game, but it was very emotional. One at Lachlan's Guard of Honour, and I know the fans really enjoyed what he said to him at the end, and that probably proves where this club is at the moment. It is that one family mantra, isn't it, that you're trying to embed?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I've said to the players, our family comes first. There's no doubt about that. We've got a family here, like you said. That's what we try and create, that family environment. And you know, to see Lachlan go out the way he did, in terms of the crowd and the appreciation that they gave him, I know it meant a lot to him, meant a lot to his family. But he's still around. He's still going to be a part of what we're doing, and he's been an important player, and he's going to be an important person, as long as he's here.
Perfect. Best of luck, mate. See you on Friday.
Thanks, Joe. Cheers, mate.
Hey, Willie. How are you doing?
Hey, James. Good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Matt covered most things, so I won't keep you long. You're clearly a deep thinker about the game. Does that extend to looking at the league table and working out how many points might be required for the playoffs?
To be honest, no, I haven't, mate. I don't want to go into that. Then you start overthinking. Yeah. I like to think about our game and then opposition and that type of thing. But when you go too much into that, then you can overthink it, and it creates panic and anxiety and all that sort of stuff. So it's true. You need to control what you can control as coaches and the players as well. And our focus has got to be this Friday, because when you go and perform and you win, then it will look after itself. The position we're in at the moment, we don't have to rely. I know we're just out of that 6, but if we keep winning games, we'll be in the 6. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah, you've won 6 out of 6 against the sides below you in the table, and 3 out of 10 against the sides currently in the top 6. Is that a record you're looking to improve?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if you're going to be there at the end of the year, you need to beat the top teams. So, again, mate, we've gone through a lot of adversity this year. We've lost our halfback who was our number 1 halfback for the season, or pretty much the season. We've had Lachlan out for majority, and if you have a look at the games that those two have played, close to winning every single one. So you take those out, then you give opportunity to other players, and I think Rowan Milnes is doing a great job now. We've got a lone player in Tanguy who's doing a good job. So once you get players, and cohesion back in the team, then there's no doubt that's when you start to win those bigger games. And we've got some big games coming up. So the players that do play will be going out and looking to perform, which they have been the last 2 weeks.
Good stuff. That's all from me. Thank you. All the best Friday.
Cheers.